Today, I want us to take time to just to ask questions.
We can ask you anything. Nothing's off the
Nothing's
table.
off kilter.
Nothing's off limit.
I'm gonna ask some things. Y'all ask some. Absolutely. Being 20-somethings in a rapidly ever-changing culture, where do you find value?
If you can get it in like 10 seconds, it probably has very little value.
When did you begin, and how did you begin to trust that your passions are there for a reason?
What's the most difficult conversation you've ever had?
Wow.
Nice.
The most difficult conversation I've probably ever had to have, was probably...
I think I can see the world from here. I think I can see the world from this dark bed. I'm gonna make the world appear, and I'm gonna see the blue skies above me, and I'm gonna touch the greenest grass, and I'm gonna feel the wind upon my skin from this air-conditioned flat, from this air-conditioned flat.
Hello, good people, and welcome to the Chasing Kairos podcast, where we are all about helping one another unblock the pathway to purpose. I'm your host and proud girl dad, Coach Neko Parham.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, Amaya. My sweet girl.
Yeah.
Man, my bro hams are back on air in studio live with
Yeah, we
me
are.
today.
Yeah.
It's Max
Been a
and
minute,
Caleb.
too.
What's happening,
Come on.
man?
What up? I'm excited.
I'm glad we're back together today to talk about, to just talk. It's
Yeah.
needed. We had a conversation the last 2 episodes that were part 1, part 2, the Gen Z conversation, and just allowed the girls to just talk, ask questions, got to the bottom and top of some some situations.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
and today I want us to take time to just to ask questions. I think people are in need of just knowing that questions are empowering. Questions actually, and Max can relate to this because I wore them out for years in class, and Caleb, now,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning.
in class, where it's just questions, life questions that come out of nowhere. And you guys are always like, Coach, you're asking something I never thought about. Like, good. That's the purpose, because for me, questions are about discovery, self-discovery. You know what I mean? And self-discovery is about growth. And that's why I think in life we're afraid to dabble in growth, because growth hurts.
Yeah.
Right? So asking questions today is what we're going to be doing. No question is off kilter.
All right.
Let's have fun with it. Let's give the family out there and the people out there something to consider and think about themselves. Well, actually consider what we're asking and find your own self-discovery. So yeah, that's what we're going today. But before we dive into that, we have not given some folks their flowers in a good little while.
That's
right?
true.
So I want us to start first by giving flowers, to those people, those folks who, who have impacted us and brought about change and transformation in our lives, right? And as always, I'll break the rule a little bit and not give it to a single person today, but to a group that I find very meaningful, very valuable, very effective, not just to my life, but to society, globally. Artists.
Oh, wow.
I want to give my flowers to artists today, because artists have this really unique and intriguing, sometimes wild and wacky way of just changing how we think about life. Certainly has done that for me. My viewpoints and how I may have been conditioned at one point in my life, art that was created and formed by artists have given me that. And it comes in the form of wonderful directors, amazing writers, certainly amazing actors. God knows amazing musicians and singers. Where would we be without artists? So to all those wonderful people out there, today you call yourself an artist. You're pouring art into this world to make it a better place, a transforming place. I give you your flowers.
Love it.
Ha!
Thanks
Yeah.
for the flowers. I can take some of those.
Absolutely.
I get a couple.
You're welcome.
You gave yourself some flowers too.
Hey, I'll take them. Yeah, that's what I was going for. I was going for that. I want my flowers for myself, but I did it in a really
Artists. I'm going to give mine to everyone wearing a white shirt.
how dare you eliminate Max from this conversation.
Yeah, I'm the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm giving my flowers to my dad today.
Hey.
We shouted out Cindy, our mom, the other week, but I'm gonna go with my dad. My dad, growing up, was many great things. He was empowering. He was a calm presence. He was realistic, encouraging. But what I am really feeling appreciative about today is the fact that he never pushed me away from my dreams at all. He was never a pressure of maybe not art, or maybe not music. You know, maybe. But like I said, he was realistic. He encouraged college.
Sure.
He encouraged a backup plan, but he very much so encouraged my passions. And I love what you referred to, what Jay Shetty said. Our purpose is passions plus service.
That's right.
And a lot of people, their passions were not encouraged. It was
right.
no money now.
That's right.
Money now,
Yeah.
or my dream for you now.
Facts.
My dad never had that mindset. There was only one time he reeled me in, and it really disappointed me. And I was like 8 years old, and I said, "Dad, I want a skateboard. I want to become a skateboarder." And he said, "Well, you can't do it all, son." And at the time, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
But that's the realistic part of him, where it was like, dude, we all know you're not a skateboarder, but you're an amazing musician. You have these artistic dreams. Let's get you into those passions.
Yeah, he totally reeled you in.
Reeled me in, but didn't shut me down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
shout out, Dad.
You guys have amazing parents. I say that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You really, really do.
We do. Yeah,
We do. And we don't take it for granted because a lot of people don't have that story.
That's right.
I'll keep mine in the family.
Okay.
And this is fresh on my mind because of a meeting you just met our grandparents.
Yeah.
We were just talking to.
I met them for the first time. And
yeah.
what an amazing meeting
Yeah.
it was. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's
In
really
so many
great.
ways. So beautiful.
Yeah. I'll break the rule the same way. I'm going to shout out all of my grandparents.
Very
I love
nice.
it.
I'll give a petal to each grandparent.
I love it.
Give them a whole flower, man.
You know what?
It's not real
All
flowers.
right. They'll each get one flower. But we have great parents. We also have great grandparents. And I'm sure the reason why we have great parents is partly because of
There you go.
our grandparents.
Ta-da.
So, but,
Funny how that works.
Yeah. All my grandparents have been a big part of my childhood and our lives. Both my mom's parents and my dad's parents, who live in Maine. And we lost a grandparent a couple years ago.
Right.
My mom's biological dad. So we grew up with 3 sets of grandparents, which was kind of interesting,
Wow.
bouncing between.
How
was
beautiful
cool.
that
Yeah,
is.
which
I
is
always
it's
enjoyed
great.
that.
Yeah.
The more the better.
Wonderful that is.
Yeah. So there you go,
Yeah.
grandparents.
I second that. as well.
Flowers to the grandparents.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm glad you did that, Max, because I think a lot of times grandparents kind of get shoved aside. We don't, our generation now, we don't commune with them enough. We don't talk about them enough. We don't let them know how we feel about them enough, and as someone who was raised in the earlier part of my life by my grandmother,
Yeah.
like I hold it very dear, when I hear folks talk about, their grandparents. Like, Max, when you and I first met, you didn't shy away from talking about your grandparents. Like I felt like I knew them.
Yeah.
Well before I.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well before I met him, because he would mention them and talk about them. And I'm like, Wow, that's really cool. I thought I was the only one that did that.
Yeah.
So shout out to them, man.
Yeah.
Happy day, family and friends. You know who you are. If not, here's how you can tell. You're a friend if you casually tune in for the chase. And that's okay. We love that. But you're family if you tune in and you subscribe to the chase. Because you know how it goes. There are little perks that comes with being family, right? So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and follow the chase. And if this episode impacts you in any way, form, or fashion today, please don't hesitate to pass it along to the people you say you love and you care about. All right? Why? Because that's what family does. Let's get to chasing. See you at the reunion. Guys, let the Kairos chase begin.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Max, what's on your mind?
Oh, so much. Here's what's on my mind. I want to know the Neko Parham guide to a certain thing. And it's a
I might want to know it too.
Yeah. So we'll see. We can discover it together. What's the best way to have difficult conversations with someone you care about? That's something I've always struggled a little bit with.
Yeah.
Because I'm the guy, if you want positivity, if you want forward momentum, but when it comes to stopping the momentum and saying, hold on a second, I'm not okay with this, or
Right.
I need to set this boundary, or I need to end this relationship.
Sure.
What's your approach to that sort of conversation? How do you do it in a healthy way?
Sure. And great question, first of all, Max. And as I answer this question, it's even for myself, like it is a work in progress as I think about it.
Yeah.
I think the at the core of that really has everything to do with self versus the complications with the person that we're looking at. That's across of us. It's more about self. One, grace, right? Having that grace and compassion for yourself first, allowing yourself to be okay, not being okay to have this conversation, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not okay having this conversation, but you still got to have it, right? Because I don't think you can give grace and give compassion until you truly learn to have it for yourself, right? And then after that, it's that step of really, really understanding. Here's where art comes in. Shakespeare, he said it best. Above all else, to thine own self be true. I think we need to really listen to that statement that Shakespeare said. We need to listen to it, and then we need to be very careful with what that means, because some people think, well, I'm being true to myself, so I'm just going to say what I got to say, and however it comes out, that's what it is. There's no response. That automatically eliminates your responsibility and your accountability with how you deliver a message, right? One of the greatest prayers is certainly something I literally pray in my life every day, because I want to be that and I desire to be that, is to learn to be a better communicator, a powerful, impactful, but gentle communicator, right? It's very important for me personally to be able to do that. And so I think, Max, that requires accountability. It requires you knowing what you want from that situation, what you want from that relationship, right? And I've learned that if you can't have a genuine, peaceable, authentic, real conversation with a person where you really put on the line your vulnerabilities, your heart, this is how you're feeling about something, and it comes in the form of no spirits were broken. I didn't break anybody's spirit, or at least I didn't intentionally break anyone's spirit, right? I think as long as we travel that road, we'll always be doing the right thing. Having difficult conversations is not always about getting to and finding that ending moment at a place of acceptance as much as it is getting to a place of understanding. Because you can understand, you want to be able to understand someone, but you don't have to accept.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have, you can hold both of those at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's tempting to think that if I understand something, I have to agree with it.
Yeah.
But no, real empathy is actually just understanding a person, how they feel when they're in the situation they're in.
Absolutely.
That doesn't entail agreement or acceptance.
Or either one.
Or
Yeah. And to that point, it's the thing that get us in trouble, because we're in so many facets of life. When you think about it, we're taught to walk the binary line of everything.
Yeah.
You get two choices. You get two choices. No, it's not just. I know. I get it. Burger King and McDonald's, but you actually have other choices. There are other alternatives out there, right? We're conditioned that in society.
That's all great. That's all really great. I struggle with the same thing, just having difficult conversations. But one thing I wanted to say about something you said in your question is it's hard for you when there's momentum going to slow down the momentum to have the difficult conversation. Mm-hmm. But I think the reality is difficult conversations just pick up the momentum, because not having those conversations is what's slowing down the momentum. Is not having the breakup. That's slowing down your momentum. Or in a partnership, a business partnership, not having the difficult conversation, that's preventing you from picking up the momentum.
Absolutely.
So just reframing that perspective, the hard conversation, if you've surrounded yourself with types of people that are open to having difficult conversations, that momentum's just going to skyrocket
Absolutely.
after that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that I've learned.
Yeah.
Recently.
No,
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
facts.
And with that, Max, the idea of someone else having control of that moment, that is your moment, to have a difficult conversation about whatever it is, but they're actually controlling that moment. And whoever or whatever controls your mind controls you.
True.
And with that, I got a big problem.
Yeah.
I don't like to be controlled by nothing or no one,
Yep. Oh man. Yeah. You said that in that text you sent me the other day.
Yeah.
You said whatever you're making a priority in your life, that's gonna drive you.
That's going to drive you.
Yeah.
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 She's going to drive you.
She gonna drive you. She's in the driver's seat. You might be, pressing the gas.
Yeah.
She's steering the car.
Yeah, you pressing the grass, but no, she's certainly steering that car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said we can ask you anything. Nothing's off the table.
Nothing's off kilter. That's
Nothing's
back and
off
forth. I'm going to ask some things. Y'all ask some. Absolutely.
What's the most difficult conversation you've ever had?
Wow.
Nice.
So many. There's so many of those. That's like what I asked y'all earlier. Like, what's your favorite Michael Jackson song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about
wow.
some
Too
20
many to
minutes
choose.
before we answer.
Too many to choose.
Just give us one.
The most
Yeah.
difficult conversation I've probably ever had to have, was probably, just off the cuff thinking about it, was probably the conversation that I was sharing with my mom as a teenager about, yeah, I'm so glad I can laugh about this now. The conversation I had with my mom as a teenager, and I was trying to get her to believe and understand that I had legitimately stopped selling drugs because I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But her face, the tears in her eyes, and the look on her face, it wasn't that she was showing that she didn't believe me. It was showing that I heard her.
Yeah.
Because she had just found, a little bag of cocaine that I left in my pocket, that I had searched for to give back to the person that I was holding it for. And the conversation I had to have with her, about that, why I was even in that situation again, it was a very difficult conversation. I'm 17 at the time. So I'm thinking, like, how do I navigate getting my mom out of this hurt place? Because for me, it was just like, I don't want her to be hurt right now.
Man.
I don't want her to be hurt right now. It's like, I think I almost got to a place like, I don't care whether you believe me or not, because I know the truth. I'm done. I don't do that anymore. I'm done. I was holding it for someone because the police had come to school and they called him to the front office, and he slid it to me in the classroom, and I held it while he went to the front office to pay a visit with the police, right? So for me, I knew it was the truth, but it was more about I'm still hurting her, and I'm trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that bothered me more than anything because I just saw her hurt and just seeing her hurt. And it's funny you asked this question because my mom and I talked last night, for a good while. We had like a 3-hour conversation, just mother-son stuff, man. It was great, but we were talking about wounds. Mm-hmm. We were talking about wounds, and it's amazing how we can even go back to those situations like we did last night and talk about the difficult conversations, the hardest conversations I've ever had to have with her. I should have prefaced by saying that probably any conversation that's the hardest of my life have always been probably with my mom.
Really?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I can't think of all of the hard conversations. There's been many, but certainly I can say for sure the majority of them have been with her because I think she's the person I've always wanted to do right by more than anything.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
that.
I've always like if I fail everybody else, this is before my daughter got here,
Yeah.
But if I fail anybody else, it was like gotta do right by mama, just because she's always been my rock,
Yeah.
my water,
Yeah.
so fluid, she flows and just allowed me to flow, so yeah, I would definitely say the hardest conversation I've ever had was with my mother about me legitimately being done with selling drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This phase of your life is really interesting to me because you are a person that is extremely confident in your purpose and your passions, your service. You're extremely confident in what makes you who you are.
Sure.
But you weren't always like that, as none of us were always like that. And you had some detours along the way.
Yeah, and I still have my days.
Right. So I had a question that has to do with this. When did you begin and how did you begin to trust that your passions are there for a reason? Sort of like the flowers I gave.
Sure.
A lot of people are their passions, they just write off as hobbies.
Yeah.
I love doing this, but that's just for fun. I could never. It can't be my job. It can't be my purpose.
Sure.
So riff on that a little. I'm curious how you made that transition.
Yeah.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's important so you can see all of our new videos and podcasts, and follow us on social media at Chasing Kairos Podcast on all social media sites. Give us some comments, message us. We want to hear from you. We love you guys. And back to the episode.
Sure. So for me, my passions being a part of my ever searching purpose started young for me. Like I had a creative, gene in me early on that I noticed, certain family members, noticed, and I couldn't ever shake it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. I just knew I enjoyed at a young age creating life, art. And I love sports growing up, right? So I loved sports, and I thought that's what I was going to do. In some way, form, I thought I was going to be a sports guy in some way, form, or fashion, But the first day I landed on stage, my junior year of high school, shout out Cedar Grove High School.
Come on.
Shout out.
Decatur.
Yeah.
Decatur.
I was asked by my homeroom teacher at the time to come audition for the spring play. Now, first of all, I didn't know what an audition was.
Yeah.
Two, I was like, oh, I got baseball practice, so that's not happening. And I did. I went and auditioned for for the play, read what I now know as sides, which is a portion from the script. It was a play called Pearly Victorious, written by the late great Ossie Davis. And my homeroom teacher, God bless you, Mr. Hardy, you're the reason for all of this, man. He knew that I could carry a note a little bit.
Oh,
he knew that I could sing a little bit, and this was a musical, you know.
Okay.
And so I auditioned for this thing. I went up, I sang a song for Mr. High. Oh my God, I can remember these names. I sing a song for Mr. High, who was our musical coordinator in school, and I did that and went back to practice. It was no big deal. I went to baseball practice, and a few days later, it was announced that the cast for the musical was announced, and my name was announced, and I'm like, I'm doing a play?
That's so
Literally.
funny.
No, it came out this way. He didn't tell me. Like, I'm doing a play. That's how I found out.
Wow.
And so I do this play, but here's what happened. The very first day of rehearsal, I'm on that stage with other folks that I'm going to school with, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I knew that my sports ambitions were over.
Really? That quickly?
That quickly.
That's
Wow.
wild.
I knew it that quickly. So when you ask, how did I know? That was the genesis. That was the start of it. But as I got older and found myself in drama school, really pouring myself into the art, into the process, into the becoming this artist that I had never dreamed of becoming. But I found this new soul inside of me, like screaming to be nurtured. And I learned the craft. And I figured there's gotta be something big in this if I love it like this. And I get excited at every moment when we're backstage and that curtain's about to go up. Mm-hmm. And then there's another phase to it, Caleb, when you know and you're just like, wow. And that's the part that comes with suffering. When you realize, wow, this thing that now, years into it, I love it. And I don't want to give it up. But you're faced with that ultimate question. Are you willing to give this up? It's like you hear God asking you, are you willing to give this up for me? Mm-hmm. And you struggle to answer that because you're like, but I thought you gave me this.
Right.
Why would you want me to give up what you gave to me? And then you're quickly reminded of God being God. He has too many stories that I personally believe through the Bible. Abraham, Sarah, you're going to get that son. Be willing to give him back to me. Hannah, I believe it was. Barren. Can't have a child. Being looked at as the different one, the strange woman, because she doesn't have a child. But then when she has one, makes the pledge, give him back to you.
Yeah.
Just let me have one, Lord. I give him back to you. He blessed her with it. So when I got to a place of realizing I can't want this thing more than I want what God wants for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
I cannot want this thing more than what God wants for me. That's where the rubber really hit the road.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was that thing there. And I think for all of us, we have to think about that thing that we love so much. God gave it to us. Are we willing to give it back to him? And I'm realizing in this transition of my life, especially these last, 7 years, have been about that giving back to God what he's given to me. And it's showing up in the form of even what we're doing here now.
Yeah.
You know, I asked him years ago, like, if this is not going to work, and this is the thing actors you get to because you're waiting to hear about a role that you auditioned for, and it was a month process that you auditioned for it, and you screen tested, and it's come down to you and that person, and you're waiting, and your agent says, well, casting's gonna let us know on Monday, and it's Friday, and you're like, great, I gotta go through the weekend with this. And then Monday comes and you get word they went a different direction. And then you question, is this for me? When suffering comes along and that thing that you love so much, you realize, I got to be willing to give this back to God. Back to God.
Yeah, that right there.
Not give it to him as if you created it and you came, but no, give it back to him. He gave it to you.
Yeah.
Give it back to him.
He trusted you with it.
He trusted
for a little
me
bit.
with it, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and you realize it doesn't leave. It just takes different form.
Right.
I've always wanted to be a storyteller. I've said it on previous episodes where I'd come in from out playing as a little kid, and I'd open up my pad and I'm right there writing stuff that I had no idea what it was. But for me, it was just telling little stories or poetry or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Things that I kept to myself. I would not dare let my homeboys know back then that I was doing that. My mother reminds me of that to this day.
Yeah.
But even that, I'm always reminded, like, I've always been a storyteller, and it always transformed into something else. Into something else. I still act. There's a great surprise coming soon that'll be announced regarding being back in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I was okay not acting anymore because I saw God was transforming that style of storytelling for me into something else.
Yeah.
It's why I decided I'm going to pour my heart and soul into becoming a writer. I want to write and produce, and that's what God blessed me to do.
Yeah.
With all the failed and broken deals, all the triumph that came along the way, it was what God led me to do. And all of that led to now we run a production company together where we get to tell stories.
Yes.
We're doing a podcast together where we get to share ours and others' stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
My verse for the past 3 days was Matthew 6:33. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you.
Sure. Yeah. No,
beautiful.
it's facts, man. It's
Yeah.
really facts, and we just don't. You know, when it's something that you hold dearly to your heart, you know, when you study the thing and you study the thing and you study the thing, it's hard to let it go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very difficult
could
to
you?
let it go.
But you didn't make it your identity.
Absolutely.
And if you'd made it your identity, you would have never let it go.
Yeah, I think it would have been very, very hard. And I think for a short time, I did make it my identity, you know, until I got to a place where I realized, and this is what I was in the thick of, like, a great career. I'm acting, I'm showing up in this show and in this show and doing this movie and this movie. I'm on stage and all this stuff. And I realized I got to a place of walking around. This is when I lived in New York, and I was walking around New York City, and when people come up to you because they recognize you from this thing or from that thing, when I start to realize for myself, like, oh, wow, I don't really like that. I loved when a kid would recognize me from something, which was rare because I didn't do kid-friendly projects. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do that. I come from The Wire, The Corner, HBO stuff, Kingpin, heavier, tone stuff. And I realized, like, I didn't shun it, but I realized, like, I actually don't like that part of this thing that we do as actors, where people come up and, like, worship you and the work that you do. Of course, I would handle it in a very grateful and thankful way, but inside of me, I realized, like, I don't like the way that feels. And that for me was kind of a precursor to, I didn't know it at the time, but was a precursor to, I don't know if I'm going to do this part of this for long because I don't like that part that comes with it.
Yeah.
now I've learned and grown in a way where I handle it better and I understand what it is. I've learned by the grace of God to turn it around and turn it into and reframe it into a thing that actually helps someone else see vision, purpose, life for themselves realized.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Opposed to, I viewed it as worship. I don't like that. I don't like the feeling of like worship me. You know, you make me feel, you make me greater than you because of this thing that you saw me in. No, we alike, sister. We alike, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate you appreciating the work, but I didn't look at it that way. You know what I'm saying? It felt like something heavier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that identity thing is big
Oh, it's
because
so huge, man.
it's so easy, especially for us artists and anyone with a strong vocational sort of path in life where their work is what they love. It's so easy to make it your identity.
It is.
That's pretty much all I had growing up. So I quickly made this stuff my identity.
Yeah.
In middle and high school, I was like just racked with social anxiety and maybe some depression-ish type
Sure.
stuff. And I was sort of just totally isolating myself into this stuff, which there's a good side to that because
Absolutely.
it got me through those years. But it also has taken a lot of years since as an adult to sort of get my identity disentangled from what I do.
Of course.
And into something bigger than myself, which is ultimately God and
There you go.
the transcendent side of life.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have to go through that process.
You do because you have to. There's no running from conditioning. That even makes me think about this question for you guys. Like being 20 somethings in a rapidly ever changing culture. Like, where do you find value?
That's a tough question for a 20-something because there's so much that looks like value
Copy that.
that you then find out, okay, that was not value. That was
That
just
doesn't feel like
that was
value.
just a meme or a
That was just a feeling.
a feeling. But
Yeah.
there's so many distractions, so many options
Yeah.
that you're just it's almost like a value sensory overload throughout your day.
Sure.
A lot of times. It's like walking through Times Square, the Times Square of value.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to convince you that it's real value.
Right.
So for me, it's getting away from all that is where I actually find value. It's connecting with another person or connecting with God
Yeah.
or myself, climbing a mountain or something.
Sure.
Like that's where I have to go. I have to actually intentionally distance myself
Yeah.
from the social media world and the technology that sort of masquerades as true value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that, especially we talk about social media a lot, but it is true that just deeply impacts your perception of value. And I've definitely fallen victim to that. Yeah, followers, likes, viral videos, all that stuff. But like Max is saying, when all that went away, went through a breakup, didn't have a job, felt like I had nothing, that's when I had to figure out what my value really is, because all the things I had my value in were literally just gone.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
really like no community, no nothing.
Yeah.
That's the journey I'm on still presently, but I know that I want all of my value to be in God.
Sure.
Whatever that looks like. I think
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning to define what that truly looks and feels like. But closer every day. Like Max said, I think to get there, it just takes removing things from your life that your value might be in.
Right.
Like even if, literally if it's getting off social media for 3 months.
Yeah. No,
get
I
rid
get
of
it.
Find
Yeah.
value without it or whatever.
Yeah, I totally get it. So does the idea of you not understanding what's valuable, does it affect even like your dating?
Oh yeah.
You know, like I have to imagine, you know, I don't value money at this, you know, degree where it's like overshadows everything, you know, in my life. I value the human connections that I have. I value the human experiences that I get to have. But money is important, right? And in that, like, the idea of being in a relationship, and I know this comment that usually men we make, it gets pushed back a lot, but it's a truth that we haven't been able to escape for a long time, that in order to feel secure in a relationship, in a partnership, if my money's not right, I don't feel right in that relationship. So for me, that speaks to what I value and how I value money in a relationship. Could that come from certain conditioning, or come from past, experiences? Sure. But it doesn't change the fact that is a truth of mine. And of course, when I get there, I have to also, as I give and teach to everybody else, the reframe, I have to help myself to reframe that. Like, yes, I feel this way, but what else is true? Am I gonna let that potential, new thing that could be great slip away because I feel like I'm not there or at a place that I want to be? I really want that $1.1 million house I saw, to happen first.
Yeah.
Right. I really want that thing, we get in our heads like that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it speaks to value, and relationships are more important than that. Are they not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
And there's something to the idea of building together, building that value together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely affects all that, because I think for me a little cheat code that helps with figuring out what's actually valuable is if you can get it in like 10 seconds, it probably has very little value.
That's good.
But
I like
True.
that.
If
True.
it takes longer, if it takes a few weeks, a few months, a few years, then it probably has some legitimate value.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear that as
No.
20-somethings. We want the immediate gratification.
Yeah.
But the same thing's kind of true with dating.
Yeah.
If there's a dating opportunity that sort of just spawns in front of you and and you can get it within 10 or
Yeah.
15 seconds.
I feel love now. I feel lovable
Yeah,
now.
right.
That's probably not.
That's what the dating apps do for you.
Oh,
They-
interesting.
Yeah, they trick you into thinking you're getting that
Right.
real value.
Wow.
But it's just, if it takes 15 seconds to open up the app and see how many likes you have, that's not real value.
Yeah.
Copy that.
That's not real value.
True.
Copy
So-
that.
So I have a question. What would you say is the percentage of, like, we should obviously put all of our value in God, technically. 100% we found our identity and value in God. But we're also talking about things we put our value in on earth as well, like dating, all these other
Sure.
things we're talking about. Is it like 60-40? Is it 90-10? Is it 100% God? And then, I don't know.
Well-
You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, no, sure. I know exactly what
weird.
you're saying. I think it's how you view. It's a great question. I think it's how you view God, and when you ask the question that way in terms of percentile, is there ever a time where you should not be valuing God? I value God in my sleep,
Yeah.
in my rest, in my work, in my pursuing this relationship, in my pursuing this business deal. And in my pursuit of driving here, making sure all of this works every week. I value God in that because I'm trusting him to lead the way. So my value of God never slips away, because this is how I view God. I view God in the sense of all of this stuff that he's given me, because this is how I view it. He's given it to me. So clearly it's important to him.
Yeah. That's great.
It's not a my thing, and I gotta give value to my thing and split the difference with God. God, I got a lot on my table today, so I'm gonna need you to let me just be cool with this 50-50 today, this 20-80 today.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that
Exactly.
works. It's always it's literally waking up every day and being aware of God in everything. Gabby said this. Gabriela Garcia, who was on our Gen Z podcast episode, couple of episodes back, She said, I see God in everything. I think that's beautiful. I think we should. As simple as she said, when I'm having a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
she said, I see God in the beauty of that. What a beautiful mindset to have. Don't ever feel like you have to divide your time with God. He should be in every single portion of what we do, because he's making us and turning us into what we can become. We can't do that void of him. I think that's dangerous, especially in the culture that we're living in now, that totally, I think, thinks that way. Let me shut him off for now. I'll pick him back up when I need him in a minute. No, he's a part of that. Think about the beautiful meetings we were able to have, business meetings we were able to have yesterday. Holy Spirit right there, rooting us on. Ask this, mention this, talk about this. I'm not that bright and smart. It's God living in me.
Yeah.
Literally is that scripture. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world. Oh, I'll screw it all up.
Yeah.
So the idea of giving God this percentage and the other left for you, no, that's in tithes. That's in tithes. We're talking about tithes.
Yeah, you're right.
No. You know, God wants his 10%. You know, that's not in his time.
I love that.
You better give him all of your time and all the beautiful things that he's giving you to do.
Yeah, and he's what gives value to what we do on earth anyway.
Absolutely.
So we can be fully present in the business meeting.
That part.
Because we trust that God is what's giving that value.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's not a percentage.
Not a percentage.
It's like God encourages us to be present and take our work very seriously. That doesn't mean we're not valuing God as much.
No.
We're trusting he gives value to that work. So
Yeah.
that was very well said. That's a good, that was great.
He is a part, he's very much in the center of the work. You know?
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go into any sort of business meeting situation with my own personal agenda.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to do that. I promise you, I will royally screw it up.
Yeah.
We're partners, so don't ever follow me in there in any situation where you think you're like, this is Neko's agenda. Oh, I will be I'm telling you now, red flag, do not do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, at all.
Hear that.
That's facts.
Yeah. This is probably a good time for us to have a quick pause and let you wonderful folks out there marinate on all that. Family, we hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. But guess what? We're coming back with a part 2 of this to answer more questions next week. Please tune in, tell your people to tell their people, and come right back here with us. We look forward to seeing you.